So many of you seen that Doug Collins is on his 6-month success tour. You've probably seen the emails. He's got videos out there touting what a great job he's doing. Here's the thing. Doug Collins has been very successful. He's been very successful at one thing, and that is demoralizing an entire workforce of over 400,000 people. That's it. This guy, many of you seen him before Congress testifying or testifying and trying to defend himself. And it's just, he's been a complete embarrassment to himself. He's been a complete embarrassment to this department and to you who are trying to do your jobs. So I want to break a few things down. My name is Doug Massey. I'm the president of AFGE Local 17 here at VA Central Office, and we are still a union. I want to explain a few things because many of you received your SF50 last week or the week before saying that your bargaining unit status has been coded to quad 8. That's 8888, meaning you're not in the bargaining unit. There's no more bargaining unit at VA Central Office. This is Secretary Collins getting upset. He's like a little kid who's losing at a game of checkers and he flips the board. AFGE is going to put the board back on the table and address this with composure and get back to business. So just a little bit of history of what happened is crucial. In 1978, Congress passed the Civil Service Reform Act, and that gave federal employees the right to bargain collectively. And before that, that was done by executive order. And Congress, after President Nixon, wanted something a little more stable, and they said it's actually in the public interest. They wanted to protect the civil service. They wanted to protect it from political partisan influence. And so we've been doing this now for 50 years throughout just about every federal agency, DC government, AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees, is the largest federal sector union out there. There's an obscure provision in the statute. It's 7103B. And basically it says that the president has the authority to suspend collective bargaining for employees who engage primarily in intelligence, counterintelligence, investigative work, and national security work. So President Trump in March 27th, with the stroke of a pen, issued an executive order claiming that 3/4 of the entire federal workforce does national security work. Let me repeat that. He's saying that just about all VA employees, other agencies too, we all do national security work, whether you're a claims examiner, a VA nurse, a social worker, the cafeteria, the person who washes the dishes, they are now national security employees. I think of something Abraham Lincoln once said: if you call a dog's tail a leg, how many legs does it have? Well, it still has 4, because calling a tail a leg doesn't make it so. And giving something a label does not change reality. So where are we going from here? Well, AFGE filed in court in the Northern District of California. We filed what's called a preliminary injunction, which means during the pendency of this lawsuit, before the merits of the claim are decided, we're asking that the court stay this executive order because it would cause irreparable harm, and we have a high likelihood of success. And that was granted. And so the executive order did not get put into place. Meanwhile, OPM sent out a memo to heads of agencies, to secretaries, saying, please do not implement this until this litigation is complete. So the government appealed that injunctive relief order to the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit disagreed. They sided with the government, saying there's really no irreparable harm here because it hasn't been implemented. There's no immediate harm. It's still, OPM issued this guidance saying don't do it until the conclusion. So I think everybody's fine. And then right after that, Secretary Collins implemented that, saying, yeah, you're all national security employees, no more union. And here's the reason why they did this: because we've been highly effective. And many of you, we were all facing, 83,000 RIFs. Not that long ago, Secretary Collins came out and said, you know, I think we're good. We don't need to do mass RIFs. If you've been following the hearings on the Hill before the House Committee, Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, he got hammered by congressmen, by lawmakers, and it was embarrassing. He embarrassed himself. He embarrassed the department. It was awful. It was painful to watch. And so that was a lot of AFGE's lobbying efforts. Primarily, that's the reason why we don't have large scale rifts. There's other things that we've done too that AFGE has done. They wanted to cut our FERS retirement benefits, which was going to be a major, major cut for people who want to retire. And it was in a bill, and we got that quashed. And I got to say, I'm extremely proud of Local 17 members, because we put Action Network on our website. I sent it out to our members, and we asked everybody, please, you just put in your name, address, and there's a letter populated. And in less than 2 weeks, we sent out over 2,000 letters to Congress, meaning we had a participation rate of like 700, because each person, there's 2 senators and a representative. So that's something that we can all be proud of. There's other legislation that was out there that AFG has been effectively, that we kind of quashed. One was the VA Accountability Act, Part 2, making it easier to fire federal employees, and we got that quashed. So we're still out there working for you. We feel as though we're going to win this lawsuit, and this could be major damages to the union and to many, many employees, because if your bargaining unit status was changed and you suffered any kind of harm, I mean, there's not only suspensions and removals, monetary damage, but our contract provided 16 weeks of maternity, paternity leave. The FMLA statute provides 12. So there's that 4 weeks of leave, that the bond with your child, your baby, that is just now gone. And here's the other thing too. This was not done for national security purposes. This was done out of retaliation. We've been highly effective in combating some of these policies, and the president even said that. He even said, this is not applying to all unions. There's smaller unions that haven't challenged these, and they're fine. I'll give you an example. Border Patrol, they protect our nation's borders. They are not considered national security workers, according to President Trump. But the woman who makes the barista at VA central office, who makes your latte, she does national security work. So this is how blatantly obvious it is of what's going on. And we really need to fight this. We really need everybody to stay in the game. I know people are emailing me like, hey, my SF50, I'm not in the bargaining unit. I guess I don't pay union dues. We are still here. If you were in the bargaining unit and you got the SF50, I got the SF50 that said I was quad 8. Please stick around. We're going to get this changed. We're going to stay in this together. This is what they want to do to us. They want to demoralize us. They stopped, it was like 3 months ago, they stopped payroll dues deduction. That's also set by statute. And AFGE has lost money through that. Local 17, we were in much better shape. We had mostly everybody on e-dues. If you go to our website, there's a place to join AFGE. And if you weren't a member, we'd love to have you. If you left, you want to come back, we greatly appreciate it. There's a lot of things we're going to do in the future for everybody. And a lot of people don't know what we've done in the past. That's the thing. A lot of rights you enjoy, you don't really know where they came from. And it just didn't come because VA said, oh, we'll give you this. These were rights that AFG has fought for you in just about every aspect of your conditions of employment. So we want to hear a little bit from Jamie Raskin. He spoke last night at an AFG town hall, and I always like hearing him speak. He's my representative. I'm here in Montgomery County, Maryland. We're fortunate to have him. And by the way, I think it's important to know that we're at VA Central Office, but this is happening throughout the country, throughout the Department of Veterans Affairs. I've spoken to healthcare providers out on the West Coast and in the Midwest, down in Texas, and everybody is upset, everybody's concerned, everybody's fighting this, and they feel as though if I had to go back to my agency job, they took our official time away because it's in the contract, that we're going to all of a sudden be quiet. And that's not true. I'm doing this on my lunch break. I get up early in the morning. I work late. We all do. We're going to be busy on weekends, and that's fine. It's I think they kind of gave us a lot of incentive. They incentivized a lot of advocates throughout the country, and I think it's going to backfire on them. And I just want to thank everybody. Most everybody is hanging in there. I got one email from somebody. I forgot her name. I won't say her last name. Her first name is Sarah, but she said something like in an email, like, "You'll have to pry my union card out of my dead hands, like cold dead hands," or something like that. And that was really nice to see that people are committed and want to stand up for this to this administration, what they're doing to federal employees, because really we're the last. I mean, we protect democracy. To have a nonpartisan civil service is so important to how we run this country. We have people with expert knowledge. A lot of these people have left. Healthcare providers, I know Doug Collins said it's not going to happen, but a lot of nurses, a lot of physicians, a lot of social workers have left. And even if they weren't directly fired, if you create conditions where everybody's like, Jesus, this sucks. I don't want to stick around here. People are just going to leave. And the dangerous part is the people that stay, how engaged are they going to be in their jobs? You know, when he testified before Congress at his confirmation hearing, he said he wanted to unleash this wonderful, powerful workforce. He has done nothing like that. He has just demoralized everybody. And I think he should be ashamed of himself. He's doing this for political power. I think he wants to be the governor of Georgia. He wants he wants money. He wants a certain, he wants the vote, the MAGA vote. And, here's the thing. President Trump, he stands tall, but he throws a lot of people under the bus. And maybe you don't remember, but there were other secretaries that they had differences, and all of a sudden they were out. And it didn't matter how much you supported him. He's very transactional in his dealings. So anyways, thank you very much. Here's Jamie Raskin.
Now I'd like to invite on a special friend of AFGE and a lion of the progressive movement to address our members. So please join me in welcoming Congressman Jamie Raskin from Maryland.
Thank you, President Everett Kelly, for your amazing leadership and for inviting me to be part of this call. Thrilled to be on with my mentor, Chairman Benny Thompson from Homeland Security. And I was just reflecting, Benny, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at the State of the Union joint session together where Trump came in and he was, attacking all the federal departments, and he introduced Elon Musk. Remember, that was before he got run out of town, and Elon Musk was there. And then Trump said, yeah, and Elon Musk just saved us $8.5 million at NIH, where they were creating transgender mice. Now, NIH is in my district, okay? And I was like, wow, $8.5 million for transgender mice. That doesn't sound very good. But I had my guest that night was a doctor from NIH who'd been fired. So she was up in the gallery. I just texted her. I said, did you guys spend $8.5 million on creating transgender mice? She said, this was debunked 2 weeks ago in the New York Times. She sent me the article. They spent $8.5 million on creating transgenic mice. That is, mice that have been injected with DNA so they can do research on breast cancer and cystic fibrosis and multiple sclerosis and sickle cell anemia and malignant narcissistic personality disorder, like all the killer diseases of the time. And then somebody, said that. Anyway, I was thinking about that night because when I walked outside, and I'm not sure I ever told you this, Benny, but I walked outside, there was a big car crash. And it turns out the chief of staff to Speaker Mike Johnson plowed his car into the back of a parked police cruiser. So they open the door and he struggles out of the car. They administer a breathalyzer to the guy. It's through the roof. It's like 875 or whatever. But Mike Johnson is there. Everybody's outside. And they ask him, and he said, oh, he's a good man and we'll deal with it. And he's going to be fine and everything. And this reporter comes up to me and says, well, what do you think about this? I said, I think it just goes to show that they've got too many DUI hires in the new administration, starting with Secretary Pete Hegseth. But anyway, look, I'm delighted to be with everybody there. And everything's under attack today, not just the unions are under attack. Unions are under attack. The public sector unions are under vicious attack, but so is the whole professional civil service under attack. You guys are getting it from two different directions because they want to dismantle the government functions that can't make them money and just delete those. And then they also want to blow up the unions, which are a force for political resistance and opposition to all of their efforts to destroy the rule of law in America. We need unions. There's no democracy without unions today, just like there's no unions without democracy. They rise and fall together. The unions are under attack. The federal workforce is under attack. The colleges and universities are under attack. The media are under attack as an independent force in society. ABC, CBS, NBC, 60 Minutes, NPR, Radio Free Europe, you name it. They're trying to just destroy all of it. And Donald Trump sues a lot of them. He sued the 60 Minutes, NBC, for $20 billion, and then holds up the broadcast license that they want for a merger until they pay up to him. And it's just a shakedown, and it's a massive assault on civil liberty. People in the party opposition are under attack. Benny and I have a colleague from New Jersey, Congresswoman MacGyver. They have prosecuted her. They're charging her with criminal offenses that could put her in prison for 17 years because she went to an ICE facility in her district on a prearranged visit. And then they tried to manhandle the mayor of Newark. And so they decided they want to try to prosecute her. So the whole democracy is under attack. I just want to say, just like all of us are going to stand with the unions, we need AFGE and the unions to stand with us all across the board. Solidarity is going to be the watchword for us to get through this nightmare. Union contracts are contracts, right? The Constitution says no impairment of federal contracts. You've got federal contracts. That's what union contracts are. No, they can't be ripped up by Donald Trump or Tulsi Gabbard or the Kristi Noem or any of them. They don't have the power to do that. So we got to stand up for the independence of the judiciary, the courts. We got to stand up for the contracts, and we got to stand up for the Constitution, because ultimately that's where union rights are located in the Constitution, right? The First Amendment gives everybody the right, the freedom of speech, the freedom of association, the right to petition government for a redress of grievances. All of that is right there in the First Amendment. The union movement was what gave us a real First Amendment in America, because the First Amendment didn't mean anything until the 20th century, until the AFL and other unions demanded their rights to actually organize, to assemble in public, to protest, to demonstrate. And so we're going to have to get back to that. And don't forget the very first sentence of our beautiful Constitution: we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect corporation, government? No, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Now that's right there in the preamble of the Constitution. So I just want everybody on this call to know that you are essential Democratic patriots during this moment. We thank you, President Kelly, for standing tall and hanging tough, and all your members. We are there to back you up and stand with you, whether it's in court or in the streets or in Congress, to defend the rights of the workers and what you guys are defending, which is an efficient and effective, a productive civil service for all the American people. And that's why they're so determined to tear you down at the VA. They want to privatize the VA. They want to disassemble the VA. So they got to go through the union in order to do that. And we're not going to let it happen. So thank you all for hanging tough. And our doors are always open. And keep fighting, everybody. Don't stop fighting every day.
Hey. Well, thank you, Representative Raskin, for those inspiring remarks. And thank you for everything that you do every single day for the federal employees.